The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, the official realtor of the process, 302-864-8643. And Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Subscribe at rightstoRickySanchez.com/newsletter. The USA wins gold. The thing we have cared most about and thought about most over the last couple of weeks happens simply because of Joel Embiid's greatness, leads them to gold. Thank you, Joel Embiid. Before we get going, we'd like to remind you about the Ricky family of podcasts. There is a new episode of the Draft Council coming up this week. The Draft Council is our new 52-a-week-a-year NBA draft podcast hosted by Dan Olinger and Ahmed Jama. There will be a new episode on Tuesday. And Mike, I'll tease it this way. It seems like they're going to have a guest on this pod that you would be, I'll say this, be shocked will be on a draft podcast, and I would wish would have been on our podcast. And that is coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Interesting.
I did mention Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. You know, when we get off of work every day on Friday, Ike Reese always says it's Surfside time and then goes home and drinks a bunch of them on Friday nights as he sits out back, I believe, and grills. What a great life that sounds like. Just drinking Surfsides and grilling. Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka is the official drink of Philly sports, and nothing tastes better than a Surfside in the summer, especially if you're over 21 and it's legal for you to do so. Check out their many flavors of iced tea and vodka. Even there's one without any iced tea in it at all, the lemonade and vodka. Iced tea, lemonade and vodka, new flavors. Got some raspberry tea and vodka in there. It's only 100 calories, only a few grams of sugar, just lightly sweet, tastes better than anything you've tried, and no carbonation because iced tea should not have bubbles. If you want to give it a try, they have combo packs so you can try all the different flavors. Go to statesidevodka.com or wherever you buy that stuff locally near you. If you're in Jersey or PA or any of the hundreds of states that Surfside is in now. Hundreds of states. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with our greatest American hero, Mike Levin.
Here we are.
There he is. So Sixers beat, or not Sixers.
Sixers.
US beat Serbia, and Embiid has a great fourth quarter, and they line up for the gold medal game against France, and we get this voicemail to 833 Lickface. Curious about your answer if we ever hear it. The question is, will we ever hear it? Yes, we will. Here it is. I swear. There we go. Oh, fuck, man. I give up. I mean, how many times do I have to do this to do it right? The Bluetooth is connected. What do you think of that, Mike?
I don't know, man.
With my inability.
I've done all the. We already. Now it feels like it's like too much if I actually like make fun of you for it.
Yeah. There we go.
Spike, Mike, CJ, Daryl, Chris calling from Dallas. After today's game against Serbia, I'm sure you guys saw Embiid went crazy, along with Steph Curry and LeBron carried Team USA, survived the LeBron's medal game. You guys have to care now, right? Like, even if it's just for one game in the gold, I think it's worth caring enough to support our guy winning something. Let's be honest. We're not sure, even with the great offseason, that it'll ever happen, with the Sixers, unfortunately. Just got to face the truth. Is it worth caring now that he has a chance to actually win a gold medal in place of an NBA championship. Non-basketball question, did you guys know when you called your number and you dial 866 instead of 833, it actually goes directly to a phone sex line? I was just curious if you were aware of that. Thanks. Bye.
So shout out to phone sex. I didn't know
phone sex was
yeah
still in the game, still in the league.
Feels like shout out. Yeah, I mean, great for phone sex. I mean, it seems almost innocent compared to the internet sex at this point. So after the win over Serbia, did you care about the gold medal game, Mike?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. That Serbia game was so sick. I rewatched it. I'd only seen some of it before we did the podcast last time, and then I rewatched it in full, and it was like, what a thrilling. Everything was great. It's just a really fun team to root for. There's just so much juice on this team. They give a shit. You can tell they give a shit. I love watching the guys on the bench also be very engaged and involved. I mean, it's cool that Joel is there. He obviously had an incredible game against Serbia. It's cool to see guys, shift up or down their roles depending on the moment or where they are in the team, the pecking order, that kind of thing. It became very cool to me and made me go maybe I should have been more engaged the entire time. But I got there. And then the very intense gold medal game, had a blast. I mean, it's just watching Steph and rooting for Steph, and then seeing Steph, Durant, and LeBron be the core of this team in what is probably their last run together. It may have been the last championship game that they will ever play in. All three of those guys.
More likely than not.
More likely than not. I mean, there's three options that one of them could break through in some way, and they're all still very good. But the West is just incredible, so it's hard to imagine individually any of those guys doing it. But this is an end of an era stuff. While they're still at their reasonable peak, it was just incredibly special to watch them do that thing, and then for Steph to take over in the end. It's a singular experience. I've obviously rooted for Steph in various games and stuff, but as I watched Joel out there, and I realized that I want this so badly for him. I just hadn't, I guess, given it that much thought that Joel, this is Joel's first time playing in a championship game as well, and so it's this shit matters, and in some way him getting over any hump, even if it's not a hump that we are involved with, is just feels good and important. And so watching and rooting for Steph as he's doing the Steph stuff is just what a singular experience that is, man. It's Steph Curry. How does he do it? It's incredible. I really felt it made me feel like a little kid watching Steph. Me and Alyssa on the couch just losing our minds, as if we're Steph stands for the last 10 years. It's just, guy's unbelievable. And it was sick to root for. I loved it. I had a blast.
Yeah, I still didn't care. But it would have been a bummer to lose because it's always a bummer for the U.S. team to lose in the Olympics. And it was reasonably fun to watch. I just never got my heart into it. I didn't, I couldn't just turn it on. I guess it's hard to explain what this feels like, though. I think most people understand it. I felt more sort of I wasn't excited when they won, but I think I would have been more annoyed if they had lost, if that makes any sense. But it was nice to see Embiid sort of enjoying himself, I think. And CJ, could you put up the video that I put in there? The Embiid versus the French fans was one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
How he kept leaning into it. Obviously, the French fans hated him because he chose to play for the U.S. rather than France or Cameroon for that matter. And if you can, we'll put this on the video, but at the medal ceremony or whatever, Embiid getting booed and wanting more boos, and the rest of the team also joining in on wanting more boos. So this is very good video. Could you hit that, CJ?
And he just did a second. While Drew was getting his medal, Embiid was
sucking.
Was doing his
there he
shot,
goes.
which was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And as for just real quick, as far as Steph goes, I think Steph is underrated historically. I generally is crazy, but would rank him ahead of LeBron in terms of basketball players I've watched that were stunning to me, that were So I love Steph and I love watching Steph, and it is the most disheartening thing I think maybe in pro sports. The most disheartening thing is when you can't stop a guy from hitting threes from a fan perspective and another team perspective, when the guy's just like fucking running around and is falling backwards and two guys are on him and is hitting threes because there's nothing you can do if the other team scores 3 points every time down the court. So it was fun to watch, but I still didn't care that much.
It's very nice and heartening to watch the best players in the world be on Embiid's side as like a wrestling villain.
Yeah.
Because obviously the crotch chops lean that way anyway, but like Embiid spurning France, which he should have done. He's never lived in France and he's lived in America since he was a teenager. That's like half his life. The fact that he played for the US and the games were in Paris and he faces France in the gold medal games. Embiid losing that game would have been
bad,
tough for me to take.
Yeah, I get it.
And so the fact that they won it, obviously not an incredible Embiid game, had a nice little stretch there. Once they weren't playing Gobert, how many minutes did Gobert play?
I think 12.
Yeah, Gobert played 12, Embiid played 11. So he pretty much matched his minutes. Once it was like, okay, go defend Wemby on the perimeter. Obviously, Embiid can when he wants to. I mean, when he has to, you just prefer him to be around the basket. And when you have guys like AD and Bam who are better around the perimeter defensively, like it just makes more sense to put them on there. So I didn't object to it too much. But seeing LeBron and Steph and Anthony Edwards and KD like be pumped for Embiid, and then even Drew, like everybody, all those guys just being like, yeah, bring it on, bring on the booze, and Embiid leaning into it like he always would as a wrestling villain was just like, it was special shit, man. He's a gold medalist. He won a gold medal. That is the first time that any active Sixer has won a gold medal for the men's basketball team. Like that's cool. We haven't had many good players.
Did Iguodala get traded right before he won one for US? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was Iguodala. It was Drew. Like all guys that are like,
well, because I remember
10 years.
I just remember an Iguodala, Doug Collins meetup maybe at the Olympics, and I think it might have been right after they had traded him in the Bynum trade. I think that's maybe what had happened.
But yeah, I mean, it's just great. It was great. It was nice. It became like appointment viewing to me in a way that like I'm happy that the US team is not so much better than every other team. It makes for compelling television, and it's understandable because like it's different rules that these guys have played in more than the US team has, and it is difficult to manage. Whether it's from a coaching perspective or from a self perspective, like manage egos, manage your role to know how to play in a different environment. Like I was very impressed by Devin Booker.
He was awesome.
Like competing like hell on defense, moving the ball. Like he was doing like a KCP impression. Like it was really cool to watch him go like, I know my role in this team, which is what he played at Kentucky for the most part. And I can play it, and I was surprised initially that it was like, why is he's really like has this big of a role in the team, and just watching him and seeing how he's like translated his game and goes like, I can scale it down a little bit was cool to see. It's always fun to watch Drew and him be that guy. I'm happy for Drew. Obviously his trade, Sixers trading him, like starting the process was special. I mean, it was just a really fun team to root for. They seemed to really have each other's backs. It was cool to like behind the three guys that have been the face of men's basketball for 15 years in LeBron, Durant, and Steph. Like it was special, and I was on the like historical level, it was special, and on the like, I'm happy Embiid gets to be a part of this and is included in it. Like from like me, if I don't have any kids, obviously, but like watching my kid at a playground being like, he's being included. That's so nice. That's so nice that they're including him here.
They're friends with him.
And that's Embiid. And I'm just like, I love the guy. I just want to see him happy. And he was happy last night. And that was cool.
Have a couple of other Team USA things to talk about right after we talk about DraftKings Sportsbook, the presenting sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. It's good news here, Mike, because this is when you excel. UFC 305.
Oh boy.
Live from the land down under, DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. I don't know if you know this, middleweight title on the line in main event.
Middleweight,
Now,
some of my favorite. Wait,
what?
the middle.
The middle weight or the middle just, right.
Some of my top weights.
Well, I'm looking at the fights and I don't know which one of them is the middleweight title fight, but I am going to have here. These are always very big. The, for UFC 305, Mike's picks for UFC 305. How about Stuart Nickel versus Jesus Aguiar? Stuart Nickel is minus 218 and Jesus is plus 180. What is your pick?
Nickel doesn't seem like a name that would win.
Okay.
So the other guy.
Yeah, okay. So how about
you may as well have me bet on horror movies. This is equivalent.
UFC 305. Here we go. This is a big one. Tom Nolan versus Alex Reyes. Tom Nolan is minus 1050. Alex Reyes plus 675. What is your pick?
1050. That's crazy. I've never seen. That's incredible odds.
Yes.
I guess I'm going to go with the guy that's favored. I'll go with that one.
Okay. And here we go. Here's the biggest one. I don't even know this is true, but this is UFC 305. Casey O'Neill versus Luana Santos. Casey O'Neill is plus 130. Luana Santos minus 155. UFC 305.
Santos feels like a winner.
There you go.
Game to me.
You could bet it all at DraftKings Sportsbook while you bet preseason football like a lunatic. You know, there are little NBA futures in there. You do that all at DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you do it now, new customers bet $5 to get 150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code RTRS. That is code RTRS. New customers get 150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. UFC, it's going to be a ripper of a good time. Only DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21. See show notes for details. A couple of other Olympic things. And by the way, Embiid in the gold medal game, did not look great in the first half. Looked pretty good in the second half, I thought. Had like a 6-7 minute run in both of them. The one thing that struck me watching FIBA, and I don't care about the rule changes, about the debating the goaltending or whatever. But what is very clear to me watching these games is that if the NBA felt like it, all the foul grifting stuff and arguing with refs could go away. Just in one, it's gone. It doesn't even exist in any of these games. And the arguing with the refs doesn't exist in any of these games.
Well, there's still arguing with the refs.
There's some conversation, but there's not the constant, every time you don't get a call or every time you get called for a foul. And the one grifting thing that I did not miss was the head back thing that the NBA players do is fucking annoying to watch. And it's become so much of the game and it barely exists. Amazing.
It's just why? Yes. The refs.
It's not even happening.
They're just oh no, we are being discerning. Actually, we have that here. We're using pretty smart judgment to go like that. You're full of shit.
Yes.
And going I'm not blowing it. I do think there were it was physical in a game that I enjoyed. If this was a full season situation, I would think, those are fouls, and I would like you to call them. So there was it was a little bit turned up the other way, but as far as pacing of the game, 10-minute quarters, it was just moving, lack of timeouts. It was just the pace of it and the rhythm of it was so good and fun. And I do think that the NBA would be better off adopting refs who are not as full of shit. Well,
or instructing the refs they have, by the way, to just, here's how you should ref the game. Here's how we're playing the game.
Don't call the bullshit. If you feel like someone, if you watch enough basketball, you can tell okay, this guy's lying. You can tell when they're selling it so much, and it's not a flop, but it is I'm not going to give you that bullshit. I'm just not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
I will say the Embiid stuff, watching in the Serbia game, I said it last podcast, but watching the Serbia game, watching this game, rebounding.
Yeah.
He's gotten worse at it.
Yeah.
As he's gotten less explosive or more just ground bound.
Yeah. And he looks pretty ground bound right now, by the way.
Which is fine, but I'm going to need, I don't need him to go, he's not going to be Mitchell Robinson, flying through the rebound to get a rebound, whatever. But when the ball comes to him, I need his hands to be stronger. the ball gets poked out from his hands on rebounds way too much. We've obviously noticed it with the Sixers. That is one of his as he's improved in so many other areas of the game. Obviously passing, obviously, breaking down
Shooting.
guys on the perimeter, become a better shooter, willing, all that stuff. I just need him to be, especially with Paul George and Maxey, like the Sixers' weakness is going to be rebounding. Daryl said it on this podcast, and I need Joel to take it seriously in a way of like, obviously you're not going to jump over the backboard, but just be big and physical and grab the fucking ball. There were a couple times, speaking of physicality, where he still did that kind of like, okay, I'm going to get fouled type of thing. And I was like, you could just dunk on that guy. You do have 5 inches on Gershon Yabusele. Like you could just dunk on him right now. And he decided to like get fouled instead, which I understand. I understand it hurts to dunk. Whoever wrote that article from last year that we read, and it's like, oh, guys are upset. No, in the goddamn Olympics in the playoffs, he dunked a couple times against Serbia. I would like more dunks over somebody like situation. Did you notice that he hurt his hand, Joel?
No, when did he hurt his hand?
He hurt his hand on one of those plays when he got hit, like slapped down on.
When he was trying to get fouled.
When he was just pump faked and then the guys just grabbed him. And then in the background of one of the champagne videos, like they posted it and it's like LeBron doing stuff, but in the background Embiid has like a trainer coming over to him to like look at his hand. And you could see him just like flexing it. They talked about it on the broadcast, but you could see it flexing it at the line, which he does all the time. But
he's been complaining about a hand injury since 2017.
Always, yeah. He always does a little bit of a flexing thing. But I think
Amos also hurt his hand at the Super Bowl. But by the way, Amos shook his hand too hard and hurt it.
Yeah,
yes,
that's interesting.
Yes,
but yeah, I'm plenty. It was good for Joel to win a gold, obviously, play with these guys, realize how to scale his game down against better talent. Sometimes, obviously, he's not going to scale it down that much. But with Maxey and PG, he will be needed less offensively sometimes. I thought it was cool to see Anthony Davis. Like, I'm not an Anthony Davis guy, but this kind of Anthony Davis role really highlights his strengths.
I would agree.
And minimizes his weaknesses, which are like when you try to act like he's an excellent offensive player, as far as like give him the ball, get out of the way. He's just not that guy. He's not a great shooter. He's not a great, like, he doesn't have much bag. There's not much rhythm there. Like, just let him be like the best screen and roll, offensive rebound, switchable on the perimeter type guy in the league. And he really was, he was fun to watch in this game. And it made me go like, why do people keep pretending like he's something that he's not, he's just not, he's never going to be a top 5 player. And he's never going to be able to get you such good offense that you have to give him the ball as much as like seemingly people want him to. Anyways.
Well, I also think though that in the context of his team now, he is almost put in position to be that guy, and probably isn't best cast that way.
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, like LeBron's still so good, dude. It was fucking sick to watch him do his thing. It's unbelievable that he's this good at his age. It was fun to see at like the sideline do like the shoulder thing that everyone was doing at the same time. And Embiid was pumped. I mean, it just rocks, man. I had a great time. I was fucking waving the goddamn flag. Look at me. But back to Embiid, it was nice to give him the August tune-up so that it's not from May or might have even been April. I don't remember when the Knicks series ended to October that he wasn't playing any important basketball whatsoever. So hopefully it'll be an easier ramp up. If he's a little bit banged up, he has time to recover, but I feel like the whole thing was good. He didn't get, regardless of the hand, he didn't like get hurt at the Olympics. Yeah. This is all great. It was all great. It was
totally good experience. No harm, no foul. And it was the positives that we hope to get out of it. I think we got out of it, and it was nice to watch him win something. And by the way, hope he feels that and wants to obtain that feeling again, of actually beating a good team. This came from Liz, writes RickySanchez@gmail.com. Hi, Spike, Mike, and CJ. It's been fun being able to root for LeBron, AD, Devin Booker, guys I don't normally feel very inclined to root for during a regular NBA season. I think the team as a whole is pretty likable, and I've enjoyed watching them to succeed. I'd be pretty hard-pressed to name a player I wouldn't root for if they were on Team USA. Maybe James Harden. Are there any players you would refuse to root for if they were on Team USA? Like now, Harden is a good one. I mean, Harden or Ben. If now Ben would not be on Team USA, but if he were on Team USA, I wouldn't cheer for him. And Harden, same way.
I mean, like Tatum was very obviously not having a good time for a lot of that.
Kind of felt bad for him.
Part of me felt a little bit bad for him. His mom demanding an answer about why he doesn't get minutes on the Olympic team was pretty funny. They did Kerr did insert him in the starting lineup over Derek White, and part of me thinks that Derek White like came to him and was like, "Can you just play him?"
Yes, doesn't matter to me. Yeah,
it's actually gonna make my life so much easier if you play my better teammate over me. Yeah. Although I do love Derek White, and he is good. He just seems out of place for there. I understand why he was not
another guy like him. By the way, like it almost makes you think they should have. They don't need that many fucking all-stars, by the way.
Well, that's why Drew and Derek White were so good. And the way that Bam and AD were playing, like those are the kinds of players. And the way that Booker transitioned his game was really nice. Yeah, I agree. I think it's like to me, it would have been an Anthony Edwards or Tatum rotation type thing. Ant played well in the title game, not as well in the Serbia game. He's probably a little bit more as far as on-ball defense. He's probably his peak as a defender is probably higher than Tatum's. But Tatum is just like, I think maybe just thought about it too much. He's not Steve Kerr kind of player. If you're playing with Steph, like he just doesn't process the game. I mean, he processes the game high, compared to like Tobias, obviously, but like at the Steph level of just moving the ball, is he impacting it as a role player enough? But it's an interesting thought. Alyssa asked me, like, why is KCP not in this game? Not on this team. And I was like, a couple years ago, he's probably towards the tail end of his career, got signed by the Magic, but like those kinds of players that know how to already be a role player when you don't need them to do the other stuff, like, well, it is understandable why they would be necessary, but also understandable why you're not going to tell Jason Tatum, hey, we're taking KCP instead of you.
Well, also it's agent and shoe politics is why the team is built like full of all-stars instead of built as a like team itself. All these players are obviously capable of doing all those things, but this has now become like a platform for
I think it always was.
Well, but sure, but I think even more as that faction of that part of the league grows, as the shoe things become more important, like I don't know. They could certainly build a team that made a little more sense and didn't waste Jason Tatum's, 6 weeks of Jason Tatum's life being in there. That they could if they wanted to, but also
wasting his life. He's having a fun time in France. If he didn't have a good time, that's on him. That's on his ass.
Yeah, well, I just feel bad, like for I know it sounds weird, like as if Jason Tatum, I feel bad for. It's just like the public, like, ha ha ha, you suck. It's like he's on the Olympic team. He doesn't, he doesn't suck or anything. It's just kind of a bummer. I would say if you're him, the discourse around you or whatever. Sure,
but I think that's look. If you want to be famous, that's what it's going to be. People are going to get their jokes off.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I prefer on a storytelling level and on this is the best possible team level. And I think just to differentiate it from other national teams, like obviously the shoot politics are what they are. I'm not disputing that, but it is an interesting narrative on just like a storytelling way for it to be like, hey, these are all the best players that America has. This is all of them. And maybe you could argue with like some guys should have been in there or not. And there was some deferring to role and why Derek White and Drew Holiday were in there and maybe even Bam. But like pretty much this is the 12 best. And they have to like swallow their pride in a certain way. And watching them have to go like, okay, I'm Devin Booker, but I am going to play like prime Danny Green. Like
sure.
That is an interesting, more compelling, and higher upside kind of team. Even though I do think, if you just brought the Boston Celtics, this team Celtics to the Olympics,
would do better than this team.
They probably beat France.
Yeah, they'd probably do better than this team in that they know how to play with each other.
Sure, of course,
better than this team does. Are there any players you'd have trouble rooting for? I wouldn't be able to root for Harden or Simmons.
Basically, my answer was like kind of Tatum. I wasn't upset about it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. But Harden is an interesting one. American players specifically. I don't know. It was just cool to watch them all together. Really, I wouldn't say I was rooting for, aside from Steph and LeBron and Durant, I wasn't rooting for anybody specifically aside from the team and obviously Embiid. How did you feel watching Nick Batum?
Well, I mean, it's like it hurts your heart a little bit, hitting big shots, tapping balls out, all that kind of stuff. He's awesome. We will miss him this year. He's a huge loss, by the way, for the Sixers this year.
Yeah,
an enormous loss.
Yeah, he got his eye scratched, was bleeding all over the place, like an ECW match at the end. I hope Embiid gave it to him. It was just like, you should have came, you should have stayed. Hope you enjoy Los Angeles.
Yeah, little bitch.
I also got a shout out, former Sixer, Matthias Lasorte.
Oh yeah,
Colangelo draftee.
Yeah,
looking pretty Montrezl Harrell-y down there.
They kept calling him Lasor. I guess it's pronounced, the T is silent. Maybe
I guess so. Yeah.
Noah Eagle is saying Lasor.
That makes sense. Noah Eagle did a great job. I thought D-Wade was very fun as well, enjoying the moment. They had a good little rapport together. I wouldn't mind signing Gershon Yabusele for that last roster spot. I mean, the jumper is what it is. That's why he didn't make it in the league. But like, that's a big ass body with some juice on ball. Can get physical. They need a power forward. I would not mind that one bit.
No, we got a lot of tweets about that, and I agree.
Absolutely. Also, I want to shout out Isaiah Cordonier, who was in the draft class. I think it was the 2016, 2017 draft class. I think it was the one with Luawu and Korkmaz, I think. I had Cordonier very high. Dangerously high on my board, and he didn't have a great game against US, but he played really well in the semis, and could be rosterable. My friend Isaiah, but I did also miss Batum, and it was cool to watch him.
Yeah, it's crushing.
As good as he is, he's just such a good basketball player in the exact way that anybody is. It translates to so many different kinds of roles in games, and I just love them.
I have two more quick notes about non-USA players that I would like to express after we talk about Big Barker therapeutic dog beds. Got two in my house now. Well, always had two, but have two dogs sleeping on Big Barkers now in the house, officially now an Eskin. Even though my wife calls her by her last name, my wife doesn't have my last name, but it's my house, Eskin. But Scotchy in the house, along with Rebel, both sleep on Big Barker therapeutic dog beds. It's our house. It's not my house. It's our house. I don't want this getting backdoor. I know she doesn't listen to the podcast. Our house, we can call her Val's last name. That's fine. But they both sleep on Big Barkers because they love sleeping on Big Barkers. Sometimes they sleep on the same Big Barker. Occasionally, one dog will sleep on two Big Barkers at once, but always on Big Barkers because they keep them healthier. Because we know our job as dog owners is to give them the best, happiest, most healthy life possible. And if you're sleeping on a Big Barker, your dog is going to get that. The difference is the quality. I mean, the difference is the quality. Big Barker, the first dog bed engineered by experts to keep your dog healthier. The first one to actually support your dog's joints. The first to actually be a bed. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you slept in a bad bed every night, if that wasn't supportive, that wasn't a real mattress and a big fluffy pillow looking thing. You bought a dog bed from a pet store before. It just looks like a pillow with sides, right? You're like, ooh, that looks so comfortable. Yeah, to lay on for 5 seconds, not to sleep for hours on. You wake up, your back would hurt, your joints would hurt, and that happens to your dog too. That's why you got to get a Big Barker. Be healthier. Proven by Penn Vet. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. bigbarker.com/Ricky. You get 2 processed pup patches, red, white, and blue one, USA, a black and white one. You get processed pup stickers, and you get the best dog bed there is. And when you send us a photo of your dog laying on a Big Barker with the processed pup patch on there, we post them, make on the internet there, make them official processed pups, Got to do it. There's a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free, which is great. You're going to click on it. You're going to go, do I want to spend that much on a dog bed? The answer is yes. It's going to last 10 years. It's going to keep your dog healthier. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, your dog won't sleep on it. It happens, I guess. They will give you a full refund and even pay for the shipping. It's handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds.
Whoa!
So first thing on Wemby, there's this Wemby quote via Mike Finger. I'm learning and I'm worried for the opponents in a couple of years. Reporter in FIBA or the NBA. Wemby everywhere. It's like, you're 8 feet tall, bro. You should be great at basketball. Like, you should score literally every time. You hold your hand up and no one can even get there. The fact that you're not scoring 45 points a game, I think is like embarrassing. Great. I've heard Wemby, awesome. You're way taller than everybody else. It's really not that impressive to me. That's my Wemby note. Any comment?
Boban was taller than everybody else.
Yeah, but he was also like moved like a giant or something. Yes, physically the guy is unbelievable, but he should be awesome. Look at him. Whatever. Should be better than he is. That's my only thought. And then this Kevin Durant tweet, I don't know if you saw it, about Jokic. To all you Nuggets fans, nobody gives a fuck who y'all lames believe is the best player in the league. Players got major respect for Jokic. We don't worship him like y'all, but most are in awe of his brilliance. Trolling you cornballs for rooting against us is part of the game. Deal with it. I would say what has reawakened in me during this is how much I hate Jokic people. They're fucking intolerable, annoying losers, and I'm glad Fat Boy only got a bronze medal. My comment only. So
I love Durant so much. Him just like tweeting at people, his level of ball appreciation, and also his level of just like, I'm going to hate on random people on Twitter. It's just a singular guy.
Yeah,
it was a special viewing experience. Wemby was cool, and I do think that is a cool quote. I'm worried for everybody. Concern trolling is a cool way to do it. I'm excited for 2028 and to see obviously how much better Wemby has gotten by then. They will probably be a better team by then also. France, at least in their guard play. And excited to see who the US sends when it's not LeBron, Steph, and KD in LA. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. The women's team is playing France right now and is losing, which they've won 60 straight games, which is insane. So it's in the third quarter. I'm going to watch that later.
Now, we did get this voicemail about Daryl in the Olympics. So this is, where is it? There we go. 833 Lickface.
Hey, I'm the caller who complimented Daryl and said that he's having a Howie Roseman-like off season. But remember, Daryl, there is a sliding scale. So there was in the closet Howie and out and about Howie. So just remember, the more you're out and about, the more you're in the closet. So what I'm going to need you to do is get in the closet, open up Microsoft Excel, and start staring at 12th man roster spots. And you're doing a great job besides this. You're doing fantastic. But I need you to look at Excel, Microsoft Excel, and you're not done yet, so stop enjoying your off season. Win us a fucking championship. You got this, bro.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
He's having a little bit too much time in France.
Get Excel out. Let's go.
It's August for us, but it doesn't have to be August for you. You know?
Don't make us bring in Chip Kelly so we move you to the back of the facility. You know, you never know when that could happen. So
one frustrating thing I was watching, and it happened to be Matthias Lesor who did it, so I wanted to call it out. Just to think that this doesn't extend to only the Sixers. He's covering Kevin Durant. Drew Holiday has the ball against Frank Ntilikina, who's one of the best defenders, one of the best perimeter defenders in the world. Mm-hmm. Drew, obviously a good offensive player, but on that scale, is not someone you're concerned about breaking a guy down off the dribble.
No.
Frank had stopped him a couple times. Lesor helps off Kevin Durant for no reason. Drew, easy pass to Durant. Durant hits a three. It's just like so frustrating. It's so frustrating to watch the poisoned brain of like overcoached guys. Like, I'm gonna leave this guy because help is important. because he took one dribble towards the basket. Frank was there. Not even talking about B-ball Paul. It's fucking Frank Ntilikina, who's an excellent defender. And they cannot help themselves. They have to help. It's in their minds to help. And the idea that like it's 1961 and players don't shoot threes off the catch. What are we doing? What are they doing? It just frustrates me on a real level. At that high level, and I know that I got a black eye from helping. I know people are going to say that. Mm-hmm. It's a different situation. I'm not playing in the NBA or the Olympics. And I did help, and the guy was beat. So I was rotating to help. And I wasn't defending a shooter as good as Kevin Durant. It blows my mind how often that shit happens. It blows my mind. And coaches being like, yep, that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, isn't the real challenge here, just to play devil's advocate, that when you're playing against a team that good, there are no good decisions, right? So
there's more wrong decisions, and doubling Drew Holiday with Frank Ntilikina on him 20 feet from the basket is the mistake. That's the wrong one.
All right, fair enough.
No help. The reason why the defense is bad lately, just such a nothing play. Defend the guy in front of you. No help. Too often just like stands and watches other guys. No help. We may as well try. No help. Is it going to work? I don't think it's going to work. It didn't work.
There you go. The Cooler comment of the pod, if you'd like to sign up for Cooler, new podcast app that Ricky people are beta testing, go to cooler.fm and use code LickFace to download it. This came from Greg. Now, if you remember on the last pod, we did relationship advice where the gentleman broke up with his longtime girlfriend and didn't know what to do with her stuff that she left and didn't care about. Greg says, relationship advice feedback. After I graduated college, my girlfriend and I and a mutual friend moved in together. 6 months later, she broke up with me. However, all of us were too broke to break the lease and none of us could afford to live on our own anyway. So I proceeded to live with said ex for another 8 months until I could work out a new roommate situation. She started dating again while we lived together. You'll be okay, advice seeker. Enjoy the laundromat and having space to yourself.
Yeah, 8 months is long.
That is rough.
Usually that like weird in between purgatory period is like a max of like a month and a half. 8 months is tough.
Bring home other guys? What the fuck?
Right. I mean, rightfully, she's allowed to do that.
Yes, of course. I'm not saying she is in the wrong here. I'm just saying going through it emotionally.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah. No way, man. It's hard enough for people watching their exes on social media, much less waking up and seeing them at work or at home. And the hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week came from Brendan McEwen, 7190. Brendan says, at 4330 of the latest pod, no, please only talk about / compliment things that I'm on. Mike said that.
That was in regards to you talking about
the radio show.
Yeah.
And then 60 seconds elapse. Quote from Mike, it just makes me the main character in a way that I don't like to be the main character.
That's right. And I stand by this. And I stand by this specificity. Yes. There are some ways that I like to be the main character and some ways that I don't.
Yes.
Them coming out here Ricky paying for like 3 guys to come out here to watch my fucking game and videotape it. That is not the way I like to be the main character. Except that it will be popular in a way that something we've done hasn't been popular in a very long time, by the way. Yeah. We got this email from Abe to write to rickysanchez@gmail.com. Hi, all. On the pod Thursday, Mike basically said that the Sixers' continued failure to live up to expectations since 2017 is exclusive in professional sports. I know you guys aren't hockey guys, but after listening to Thursday's pod, I really think you should get a Maple Leafs fan on the pod for a bit of comparison because the similarities are pretty uncanny. I know that the Leafs comparison has been mentioned before, but the Leafs currently nursing one of the longest championship droughts in major sports, having not won the Cup since 1967. In 2014, they began a rebuild under new president Brendan Shanahan, dubbed the quote, I've heard of Brendan Shanahan.
Shanana plan. What's that?
Was Brendan Shanahan on the Red Wings?
Yeah, I think he was on the Devils as well, wasn't he? Brendan Shanahan was? Which netted them the 2016 first overall pick, Austin Matthews, who's gone on to be a 3-time goal-scoring leader and MVP. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but it's fair to say their core 4 players match up with any team in the league, at least during the regular season. Since the rebuild, they've gone through 4 different GMs and 3 head coaches. They've made the playoffs every year since the 2016 season and have only gotten out of the first round once. In 2021, they were the first seed in the playoffs and ended up blowing a 3-1 lead to the 8 seed Montreal Canadiens. When they lost in the first round in 2022, it marked their 8th straight playoff series loss. They've only made it out of the first round in 2023. The only time they made it out in the first round in 2023, they lost in the second round 4-1. Due to the immense media coverage of the team and Austin Matthews, hockey fans everywhere relish their continued misfortune. All that to say, you really cannot understate the national pressure for the Leafs to make a run and win the cup.
Understood.
That sounds fair. Yeah.
That sounds completely fair.
Yep.
Don't know it.
Yep.
I don't know him hockey. I do remember Brendan Shanahan. He was on the Red Wings for 9 years. That is if they played in 1997, I still that is where my hockey brain has frozen in ember.
Was he on the
He played
Devils
for the Devils
too?
also.
Okay,
but
all right.
he's spent most of his career with the Red Wings.
Okay, but
I don't know that I would have anything to say to a Maple
was
Leafs.
he drafted by the Devils? Because I remember his hockey card.
CJ is nodding.
Oh, saying yes. Okay.
If a Maple Leafs person wants, I mean, this was the best. I don't know if I have any questions. I think this was a good explainer about how it's similar, and I go,
Yep.
yeah,
He's right.
that
He's
is
right.
similar.
Yep.
That sounds right.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. I'm going to answer the biggest Ksebe question right here. How do you spell his last name? Ksebe. So if you missed the phone number here or the email address, just know when it's time to get a house, especially Delaware beaches, there's only one name you need to know. It's Ksebe, and there's only one way to spell it. Well, you could try spelling it other ways, but the real way to spell it is Ksebe. The Delaware beaches, if you're going to think about a vacation home in Delaware or Jersey, I urge to you, Delaware. First of all, you can utilize Ksebe and his team, which is based out of Long and Foster and Bethany Beach. And by the way, anywhere in Delaware, I know a lot of people are living, like if you commute to Philly, living in Newcastle County, Wilmington, can help you out there too, or Ocean City, Maryland can help you out there too. But Delaware over Jersey, first of all, Delaware, way lower property taxes, not even comparable. Second of all, Delaware, options that are way less crowded, whereas like every Jersey Shore point is a disaster at this point. I recommend Delaware. I also recommend Ksebe, whether it's Rehoboth or Lewis or Bethany or Dewey or wherever you choose to go. He's the guy and they are the team to help you out. And it's never been harder than to try and get a home in those areas, which is why you need somebody who knows what they're doing, who knows all the nooks and crannies of the Delaware beaches. And that is why you go to Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. And by the way, if you're selling or buying a home in a different state, not Delaware or Maryland, Ksebe cannot do it directly for you, but he will be your resource. So if you do not have a realtor you trust, or if you think your realtor is shaky, go to Ksebe. He will interview realtors based on what you need and find the best person for you. 302-864-8643 is his direct cell number. You can call or text him. That's 302-864-8643, or email adam@processrealtor.com. That is adam@processrealtor.com. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process.
We should mention,
Yeah.
Curtis and our friend Donnie in the chat. Gobert putting his head between Embiid's legs.
Oh, right under the basket or
Right under
whatever.
the basket.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. Pretty
Yes.
funny picture. Pretty funny reaction. I will say Embiid did walk into it a little bit.
He 100% walked into it.
And so I don't know who was trying to bait who. But that was funny, and I'm glad it happened. And I'm glad that nobody got hurt out of it. And I'm glad we got the image
Yep.
forever.
Yeah. And he did walk into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People how do you feel about, like, I saw people sort of shitting on Mike Sealski, who's been writing a lot of like Embiid critical things in the
By the way,
Inquirer about
Sealski is writing a book on dunking. It comes out
wow.
this fall. Yes.
pro or con.
Well, I think it is. We'll find out, but we should have him on to talk about the dunking book because of your dunking. But anyway, I didn't read the Sealski article.
I just saw people dunking on him. It just seems like maybe this is a Philadelphia thing. Maybe this is an Embiid thing after 7 years of playoff failure. But like, it does feel like not. And maybe this is just like, hey, we got to find a more interesting article. I don't know. It's probably a combination of all of it. But it does feel like Joel Embiid was starting in the Olympics for the gold medal U.S. team alongside some of the best players of their generation. Like it's pretty good. And
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to find like a negative about it. I can criticize some of his gameplay, but you could do that with everybody. So it seems kind of bizarre that there's not more. It's not more of like a holding him up as a positive of just like, this is awesome. Good for him to do this. And
in fairness, you didn't read it, I didn't read it, and most of the people dunking on it didn't read it. So
you don't want to talk about the backlash of just the conversation?
Well, I guess my point being, Philly.com is paywalled, so I think most people look at the Sielski, yeah, maybe he just obliterated him the entire time. So I have no idea, but most people are obliterating the tweet about it and the headline, which he is not in control of. So I find Sielski to be generally pretty reasonable, like as a writer. So I had no idea what it meant, what the article was about. Like maybe I'll read it or whatever, but here we are talking about what Mike Sielski wrote. Nobody read it. So,
but there is, and this, let's take it away from Sielski. Because again, that
sure.
is, yeah. I think your point is well made.
Okay.
There is something about Embiid does like nationally and even locally piss people off.
Yes. Well, I'm sort of in the middle of it in that. So Ike Reese, huge Embiid guy, very much an Embiid guy. Around me, it sort of pushes him to the other side sometimes because I can be annoyingly pro Embiid. But what he has expressed to me is that like, it's just like the funny stuff is not funny right now.
That's right.
And the other stuff is that like, I think that generally fans, the one thing that bothers them the most is when it doesn't seem like losing bothers you as much as it bothers them.
Yeah.
And when you don't take sort of responsibility for the losing. And I think, and I think that the mistakes that Joel made is that he is, going back historically, he's got a little bit of a lot of different Philadelphia athletes. He's got a little bit of Donovan. He's got a little bit of J-Roll. And when he's doing the J-Roll stuff and he's like giving the fans the finger, that part is like fine. I actually don't have any issue with that because I think people respect it when they go back and forth. But when he's doing the, I need everyone, blah, blah, like people are just fucking sick of it and don't want to hear it anymore. And I think
Donovan meets J-Roll meets like Lindros.
Yes.
And as far
from
as
a talent perspective, he's
and talent
Lindrosy.
and injury wise. Like I think that the combination of all that is sort of the perfect cocktail of having some people in Philadelphia now. Like obviously like a wild majority of Philadelphia loves and would do anything for Joel Embiid.
Yes.
But I think sometimes in the conversation and just a lack of success. A lack of like high level playoff success, obviously, which we talked about
with all the other stuff, by the way, like all this other stuff he would get away with more.
Right. That's why the Toronto thing, when he's crying in the locker room in the tunnel and after the Kawhi shot, I'm just like,
good,
great.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm also doing that. I'm doing the exact same thing. My face looks exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And when it was against, I guess it was against, Boston last year. The Hawks series is what it is. I think the Knicks series was what it was. Even the Heat one, he wasn't healthy for it, whatever. But losing to the Celtics when you're up 3-2.
Yeah. When you quit.
And everyone just like seeming to be like, okay, whatever. And obviously Game 6 they should have won at home. Mm-hmm. And then Game 7 being one of the most embarrassing sports moments of all time for the city of Philadelphia, of which there are many, and not really fully seeming to care about that. Like that fucking sucked. And that I think he has that, he goes into that mode sometimes where obviously so much is on his plate. So much it has to be him doing everything. But he goes into that like mopey kind of woe is me mode. Mm-hmm. And obviously the injuries are incredibly unfortunate, and also he could probably do some stuff to make that less consistent. Some of it is just bad luck, obviously. I think it would happen to anybody that has as big of a personality as him if they had not gotten out of the second round, had not beaten anybody good in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But also, I think sometimes it goes a little too far, and he has failed the team sometimes it is on him ultimately to lift them up, but also the team has failed him many, many, many times on top of the bad injury luck and stuff. So it's a complicated, complex, nuanced answer, but sort of everybody is at fault. Sort of people are wrong about him, but sort of also like it's very understandable that they would be very frustrated. And when Donovan was doing like air guitar in like a bad time, then it's like it's not cute right now. But doing crotch chops at the Olympics when he's winning gold, like that is cute, and I love it.
Yeah, and by the way, some of it is quite simply just it's been a long time without success, and there's just this sort of like everyone's a little agitated all the time. And so when he does something that's a little agitating, it's sort of like a roommate that you've had enough of, or you've been living with your ex for 8 months and, it's like, it's a little much. So I understand it. But again, to the Sealski article, I will read it and then I'll decide if I like his take or not. So speaking of then deciding, Mike, I need you to listen to this voicemail and tell me if you think this guy is being honest.
Okay.
So we had a voicemail last time about a guy who was a Sixers and Cowboys fan.
Right.
And we talked about the comparisons, and then at the end, and I was like, well, it's your fault. You're a fucking Cowboys fan, fuck not, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So he called back. I cannot tell if he's being serious or not. 833 Lickface.
Hey, Spike, Mike, CJ. So I'm the Cowboys Sixers fan from the last podcast, which I was very excited when I first heard that my voicemail was played, but I was then called fuck nuts. And I wanted to give some insight into who I am. I've never lived in Philly. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I grew up a Cowboys fan because my dad was a Cowboys fan, and he actually got a very severe wasting disease when I was about 10 years old. And on his deathbed, he made me promise to always be a Cowboys fan. No matter how much they suck and how much misery they bring you, you can never choose another football team to like. And so I vowed to, keep my dad's memory alive and make him happy while he watches me from heaven, where I hope he is. And the team I did choose to like was the Sixers, because I still love the Mavs, but my friend introduced me to Embiid when he was like 19, 20 and awesome on Twitter. And I was like, oh, I love this guy. He's super funny. I want to support him. And then through that, I've now have brain rot from continuing to support him. And I don't know, I've been getting a lot of visions while I sleep of my dad telling me that, hey, you can't choose to stop being a Sixers fan either.
Wow.
So do we really believe that?
I'm not gonna say no. I'm not going to. I'm not
CJ, see, now this is a benefit.
I didn't expect to go in the direction of like that kind of level of darkness, but I accept it, and I'm not, and I can see your face as you wanting to poke holes in it, and I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
I think it's weirder to choose to be a Sixers fan. Honestly, the fact that you live in Dallas, that you're from Dallas, and you're a Cowboys fan, that's totally
seems
fine,
normal,
obviously.
Right.
It is. People have done that. People did that for Joel. People did it for Ben becoming a Sixers fan.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Iverson of a different era, that kind of thing. But sticking with the Sixers when you don't have to, that takes gumption, and it takes a little bit of brain disease. So I'm happy to have you, and I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is one of the advantages of CJ not being on camera, because he can have facial expressions to somebody like this and not get in trouble for it. I just got the sense CJ wasn't buying the voicemail. Here's what I'll say.
You're putting CJ on blast.
I'm not saying I wasn't buying it. I just think he was leaning into it a little bit to get this reaction.
Yes. And obviously, if you're from Dallas, you have every reason to be a Cowboys fan. If your dad made you promise on his deathbed, yes, obviously you should continue to be a Cowboys fan. But also, if you're a Cowboys fan, even if you're from Dallas, you can go fuck yourself as well, for no reason, because you're a Cowboys fan and we're Eagles fans, and that's part of it. So I don't know. I guess I believe it. So, but I'm not apologizing. This came from Jim, writes to rickysanchez@gmail.com. CJ, are you able to put this image up from the email? We got an email from Jim, writes to rickysanchez@gmail.com. Mike, Spike, CJ, Daryl, basketball question attached as an old take. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? Feel free to have some fun. What was I thinking? So this came from Jim, and this is a Facebook take from 2012.
Wow.
You have to give the Sixers offseason an A. They got Bynum and didn't overpay for Lou Will. Plus, you replaced Lou Will with Nick Young and got Wright for nothing. I also like the draft.
Wright.
What's that?
That's Darrell Wright.
Darrell Wright, yeah, the three-point shooter, former Miami Heat, if I remember correctly, and Golden State Warrior. I also like the draft. Harkless helped you get D. Howard. Now, I don't know what that means, and Moultrie was a potential steal. So what does he mean by Harkless helped you get D. Howard?
Well, that was in the Bynum trade, I guess.
Right.
Harkless went to Orlando, so it was a 4-team.
Oh, right.
situation.
Right. Okay. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know. This seems like a normal thing that you would have talked yourself into. Nick Young replacing Lou Williams, right?
I agreed with every single word of this tweet to this day until you got to Moultrie was a potential steal. Moultrie always sucked. It was always a horrendous pick. Doug Collins traded a future first-round pick. I wonder what that first-round pick became. I wonder if I can find that out right now.
From the Moultrie
to trade into a bad draft.
Yep.
To get Moultrie at 27.
Mm-hmm.
This is just memory. 27 to trade a future first-round pick in a bad draft. Awful decision making. And then Collins obviously didn't play him. Like, it's fucking sucked, dude.
So it was
he sucked. That was bullshit.
It was a protected 2014 first round pick.
Okay.
It was lottery protected. And so that meant that the Sixers were in the lottery in 2014.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what happened to afterwards. Maybe it just went away. I have no idea.
All right. Well, maybe that makes me less upset.
Oh, here we go. The Phillies' first round pick was protected for selections 1 through 14 in 2014. Okay. So didn't give it there. 1 through 14 in 2015. Didn't give it there. If Philadelphia has not conveyed a first round pick by Miami to 2015, then Philadelphia will instead convey its 2015 second and 2016 second to Miami.
If not, pick will convey as 2 second rounders.
Yep. There you go.
So 2015 and 2016 second.
Yeah.
I'll have to look and see who we should have gotten instead of that and why I can blame Doug Collins and Arnett Moultrie for that.
Okay. Yeah, you were always anti-Moultrie.
Always anti-Moultrie. But very pro that offseason.
Yeah.
Don't overpay Lou Williams when you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Trading for Bynum and taking a swing on that when they weren't going anywhere was the whole reason. That's the whole reason the process started. Obviously, it didn't work out because Bynum turned out to not be the guy. But Bynum in LA was on the upswing of being like a top 15, 20 player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then he stopped giving a shit, and also his knees had no cartilage. And
by the way, I believe Daryl tried to trade for Bynum in Houston, if I remember correctly. Daryl tried to get
that trade radicalized me. I was already radical. The trade gave me what I wanted, basically, of pick a direction. And so we wouldn't be here if that trade hadn't happened. So I aside from the Moultrie thing, which is horrendous, Jim, that is, the offseason is a 10 otherwise. So, and I like Darrell Wright.
Yes, we all like Darrell. I would still want Darrell Wright on this team, actually. You could have him play 4.
Absolutely. Well, so, he's 3. He's a little soft.
We will end with 2 quick voicemails, both about TV. Now, Mike, this first one, so you don't show your cards, you might want to, while I play the voicemail, turn around so you do not make a facial expression that gives away what she is saying. So this came to 833 Lickface.
Hey guys, this is Erin. Please don't play this for the sake of Mike's career, but I just want to say that Mike made a similar comment years ago about not liking a comedy that a lot of people loved, and he wouldn't say what it was then either, but it stuck in the back of my brain, and then one day I was watching New Girl, and I was like, wow, I am certain that this is the comedy that Mike doesn't like. So, I just wanted to get that off my chest. All right, bye.
So she didn't have any information. She was just theorizing that it was New Girl.
No, I love New Girl.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Really
love New Girl. Sorry. You're going to have to guess again.
Unfortunately not.
And this also came to 833 Lick Face. We were talking about a show that we could never get into on the last one. And I had mentioned The Wire. Of course, I knew I was going to get a response to it. I didn't say it because I knew I was going to get a response, but I did not watch the first 4 episodes, didn't like it.
Hey, y'all. Spike, Mike, CJ, this is Ryan Tennis. Before I get into my questions, I just want to say I moved to Colombia about a year ago, the country of Colombia. And this podcast is my lifeline to Philadelphia culture. And I think I cling far too strongly to it. I listen to it immediately whenever it comes out. And it just means a lot to me living in another country where nobody understands. I try to explain the process to people. They don't even know what I'm talking about. Also, thank you for shouting out my video a while back. That really meant a lot to me. So, Spike, please, man, I knew you were going to say The Wire when you were like, there's a show that's going to piss a lot of these people up. I was like, he doesn't like The Wire, motherfucker. The first 4 episodes are kind of boring, although I've watched the whole thing 3 times now, and it's fantastic once you kind of know what's going on. But it's an investment. 5, 6, up to 7 episodes. And this is the finest piece of television or movie ever created. I've watched the whole thing 3 times. It gets better every watch. The depth, it takes a long time to get into it because the characters are so deep and so well written. I urge you to give it like 2 or 3 more episodes. And then if you're not into it, okay. Basketball related question. What's your favorite piece of trash talk you've heard from a fan or from players? For me, there's a video of Harden, I think when he was on the Rockets dribbling, and some fan really loudly yells, "Harden, shave your beard. You look so dumb. You're never going to get a ring." Least favorite athlete ever. Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much.
Ryan Tennis is a singer, so that's what he meant by shouting out his video.
One of my good friends lives in Colombia.
Oh, really?
And he played basketball. So if Ryan runs into a 6'6" guy named Brian, he'll know about the process. He was my former roommate. He lived with me during the Headset podcast era.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you remember that.
Yeah,
we were pre-video then, so you don't have an image of the house that we lived in together.
Or the headset
Or the headset.
Thankfully, unfortunately. Yeah.
For sure.
Look, people are like, you got to invest time. I watched it 3 times. Who's watching a whole series of TV 3 fucking times? You need to be busier, Ryan. I'm sorry. Who wants to watch one series 3 times? I don't really have the...
I got nothing against watching the series multiple times. If that's your comfort food, if it makes you feel good, you feel like you enjoy it, I got nothing against that. Trash talk, I do love The Wire. I do think it rocks, and does take a while to get into, but once you're into it, it hits like few shows have. I like I
have one in my head.
I'm not more. I don't like that like insult trash talk. Well, as a fan, I guess different fan and player. Fan, I really like the video of the guy yelling at the Astros bullpen before the game, before game, what have been 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Yelling at Lance McCullers. Like that kind of trash talk of just like, I'm getting in your head. My goal right now is to get in your head and succeeding. I think that is great. And that should be happening all the time in the Phil's bullpen. On court, I like more of like which way do you want me to go? You want me to go left or right? Like that, like that kind of thing. I don't talk trash. I mostly say like, I'm getting out of breath. It's hot in here, something like that. But when other people do it, I am enjoying it.
The best trash talk I ever saw was 1999. I was at a Braves-Mets playoff game, and John Rocker came out. And you remember John Rocker eventually. Yeah. Some kid couldn't have been more than 10 years old, screams at the top of his lungs, "Rocker, I'm in your fucking head. I'm in your head."
I think you've told this story before. I like it.
It's so good.
I remember it.
It's like, you know how like they're just, I probably don't remember anything else from that year, really, but seeing
the entire year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that.
That moment. I remember that moment. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Congratulations to Joel Embiid, the sole reason the U.S. wins the gold medal.
We did it.
Congratulations to Andrew Unterberger on surviving the experience. The U.S. won, and Embiid doesn't end up as a total laughingstock, so that's a win. And congratulations to Jason Tatum also on winning a gold medal. Daryl, there is still a roster spot left, and
bring somebody home.
Could use a power forward.
Bring somebody home.
So, all right, we'll talk to you next time. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah, you know, like this.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
then I won't fuck with you.
But if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you! Time for plan B.